Thank you, guys. Thank you for the warm welcome. I feel it. I have to say, thank you for that kind introduction. And it is good to be back in Dorchester County. It's where we started this off. I feel like I'm coming back home. I am seeing a lot of new faces tonight, though, and so I'll tell you a bit about myself and why we're doing this. Okay, I'm the kid of immigrants who came to this country 40 years ago with no money. I've gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies in the United States of America. I did it while marrying my wife, Apurva, raising our two sons, following our faith in God. That is the American dream. And I am genuinely worried that that American dream will not exist for my two sons and their generation. The truth is, we're in the middle of a national identity crisis today. And I speak to you as a member of my generation when I say that. I'm 38 years old. I'm the youngest person ever to run for U.S. president as a Republican. Thank you. I appreciate that. Last time I saw you guys, I was 37, and they said, 37's too young. So I said, all right, we'll turn 38 then, you know. But the truth is, I'll tell you what's going on with our generation. I think it's true of all of us. It's definitely true of people my age and younger. We are hungry for a cause. We are starved for purpose and meaning and identity. At a time in our national history when the things that used to fill that void, faith, patriotism, hard work, family, these things have disappeared. And that leaves a moral vacuum, a black hole in its wake. And when you have a black hole that runs that deep, that is when the poison fills the void. You can pick your favorite poison. Wokeism, transgenderism, climatism, COVIDism, globalism, depression, anxiety, fentanyl, suicide. These are symptoms of a deeper void of purpose and meaning in our country. And as odd as that might sound, I actually think this is our opportunity. This is our opportunity as conservatives, as Americans, to step up and fill that void with a vision of what it even means to be an American today. A vision of American national identity that runs so deep that it dilutes the poison to irrelevance. For a long time, we as Republicans, we as conservatives, we have been running from something. Now is our moment to actually start running to something. To our vision of what it means to be a citizen of this nation. You ask people my age that question. What does it mean to be an American? You get a blank stare in response. It's like a deer in the headlights. That is the vacuum. That is the void. That is what we're going to talk about tonight. What does it mean to be an American? To me, it means you believe in the ideals that set this nation into motion 250 years ago. Ideals like meritocracy and the pursuit of excellence, that you get ahead in this country, not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. That is why I will end affirmative action in every sphere of American life. It has been a cancer on our national soul, and we will end it. What does it mean to be American? It means we believe in the rule of law. That if you're like, you know what, my parents, you get to come to this country legally if you want to follow the rules and do it through the front door. They followed the rules. They paid their taxes. They raised 2 kids, both of us, who went on to found companies that helped thousands of Americans. But I say this as the kid of immigrants, that your first act of entering this country cannot break the law. And that is why we will use our own military, not to protect it against an invasion across somebody else's border halfway around the world that doesn't advance our interests, but to protect against the invasion on our own southern border right here at home. That is what it means to be an American believing in the rule of law. What does it mean to be an American? It means we believe in a radical dream that our founding fathers had 250 years ago. A radical dream that I have as a citizen today. That the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government. Not the managerial bureaucracy in the deep state that actually runs the show today. This is why, to be honest with you, I don't even talk that much about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is not running the federal government today. Just a fact, he's not. It is the puppet masters who actually pull the strings in the administrative deep state. So what I have said is that if I can't be your all's president for more than 8 years and collect a paycheck from the taxpayer for that long, which I think is a good thing, then neither should those federal bureaucrats reporting into me either. 8-year term limits for the bureaucracy instead of the civil service protections. And by the way, when there are government agencies that have become so corrupt that they've abandoned their original purpose, government agencies that should not even exist, like the FBI or the IRS or the ATF or the CDC or the Nuclear Regulatory Commission or the U.S. Department of Education, then we will not just reform them. We are going to get in there and shut it down. That is how you revive the integrity of a constitutional republic. You see, these aren't Republican ideas or Democrat ideas. These are not black ideas or white ideas. These are fundamentally American ideals that set a revolution into motion 250 years ago. And I do think we face a choice in this primary, in this election. I say this as somebody who doesn't bash my fellow colleagues in this race, and I call them my colleagues. They're not my competitors. They're colleagues in a national revival. You all are my colleagues, are each other's colleagues in our national revival. It is going to take all of us to do our part. Next week on Wednesday, there will be 7 other good patriots on that stage, and I respect them. But we do face a choice in this primary, and I think the choice comes down to this. Do you want incremental reform, or do you want revolution? I stand on the side of revolution. I stand on the side of the American Revolution. Those 1776 ideals that birthed this nation. We live in a 1776 moment. We live in a moment where we, the people, remind ourselves that we create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around. We live in a moment where we remind ourselves that, you know what, we don't sort out our differences in the back of palace halls, either in old world England or in the corner office of BlackRock on Park Avenue in Manhattan today. No, we the people sort out our differences through free speech and open debate in the public square in a constitutional republic where every citizen's voice and vote counts equally. That is how we do things on this side of the Atlantic, on this side of 1776. That is who we are as Americans. Okay? I don't think about November 2024 as some destination. Don't make that mistake. November 2024 is the start line. For me, the destination is January of 2033. When I leave office after 2 terms. My older son, he won't even be in high school yet, okay? And I think a lot about what do I want to tell him? We're doing all this, we're going through all this trouble, got a 1-year-old at home, a 3.5-year-old. What are we doing? For what purpose are we doing this? I think about what I want to tell him when he's entering high school, what I want to tell you all when I leave that office. I really don't pay attention to inauguration speeches. They bore me. They're full of unfulfilled promises. It's garbage, okay? I do pay attention to farewell speeches. George Washington's, the great of all time, January of 1801. Dwight D. Eisenhower's along the way. Ronald Reagan in January of 1989, where he said that we revived a national character that we lacked when he took office in 1981. I think about what do I want to tell you in January 2033 that we actually did for this country. When we're leaving that day, I want to tell you that once again in the United States of America, we have 3 branches of government, not 4, that we shut down the administrative deep state, that we reduce the federal employee head count by over 75%. I believe we can do it. I believe it is possible. I want to tell you in January 2033 that we are no longer dependent on our enemy, Communist China, for our modern way of life. We have declared independence once again in the United States of America. I want to tell you that our economy is once again growing at the fastest rate in the developed world because we embrace capitalism again in this country instead of apologizing for it. Above all, though, I want to tell you that my 2 sons and their generation, that they are once again proud to be citizens of this nation. We're in a crisis of national pride. Young people, they don't believe in this country anymore. I can tell you, I'm one of young people, a member of a generation that was jaded and cynical for much of my 20s. Wasn't that long ago for me. 16% of Gen Z today says they're no longer proud to be American. 60% of young Americans say they would sooner give up their right to vote than to give up their access to TikTok. I'm not making this up. This would be funny if it weren't true. This is not the stuff of a nation that's built to last for more than another generation. My wife asked me last December, first thing she said as a thinking, sane person was, are you sure we want to do this right now in our life, as not wait, say, 20 years from now when our kids are out of the house, maybe we have some more experience? The truth is, I don't think we have 20 years left as a country. I don't think we're working with that much time. I do not want to be the generation that history looks back at and says, we were the ones who finally blew it 250 years in with our founding fathers squandering it to become just another fall of the Roman Empire. I reject that. I think this is our opportunity to actually look at things a little differently and say, you know what? It might just be a special time for us to be alive now, as it was in 1775, as it was in the spring of 1776. We have a government that tells us that, you know what, we the people, we can't handle the truth. We can't handle the truth about the origin of COVID-19. We can't handle the truth about what we knew about the vaccine or mandate lockdowns in this country. That we can't handle the truth about a Hunter Biden bribery story on the eve of a 2020 election. That we can't handle the truth about what really happened on January 6th. That we can't handle the truth about that Nashville shooter manifesto, the transgender shooter of a Christian school that they still have not released. I think we live in a moment where we say, you know what? We the people, we can handle the truth. In fact, we create a government that we require tells us the truth, that we stand up for the truth. That is who we are. That is what the American Revolution was actually fought for. And that is what we have an obligation to recreate today. That is what this campaign is actually all about. It is about standing up for the truth, speaking the truth, doing it without apology, Today we have an epidemic of fear in our country. Fear of losing your job. Fear of your kids getting a bad grade in school. Fear of becoming a pariah in your own community. Not for telling a lie. You'll be fine if you tell a lie, but for telling the truth. You want to revive our civic health? I'll tell you how to do it. The best measure of how we're doing as a country. Here's what it is. It isn't the number of ballots that get cast every November. That's just the final act at the end of the process. It is the percentage of people who feel free to say what they actually think in public. Right now, we're doing poorly. We can do better. The only way we're going to do it is all of us starting to talk openly again, to say in public what we will say at the dinner table. When you're the only person in that room, that parent-teacher conference, that board meeting, heck, at the dinner table with your own kids, standing up for your own parents, for that matter, standing up for what is true, speaking that truth. And in this race, I am doing my part. We will stand up and speak the truth, not when it is easy, but when it is hard. That's what we're going to do tonight. Speak the truth. God is real. There are two genders. Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. Reverse racism is racism. An open border is not a border. Parents determine the education of their children. The nuclear family is the best known form of governance to mankind. Capitalism lifts people up from poverty. There are 3 branches of government, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is the truth. We fight for the truth. We stand up for the truth. That is who we are as Americans. And I will say this in closing before opening this up. I want to actually hear from you guys. We'll do a little Q&A. Throw things off script a little bit here. The truth is, for too long now, I grew up into a generation where we were taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways we are really just the same as Americans, bound by a common set of ideals that set this nation into motion in 1776. I believe it deep in my bones that those ideals still exist. I believe that we together can still revive them. E pluribus unum. From many, one. That is the dream that won the American Revolution. That is the dream that reunited us after the Civil War. That is the dream that won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is the dream that still gives hope to the free world. And if we can revive that dream over group identity and victimhood and grievance, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about, and that is what we together will revive to save this great nation. Thank you all. God bless you. God bless your families. And God bless our great country, the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's actually open this up. Let's have a conversation. We'll take the microphones around. Thank you. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. I don't know if we have a second mic or not, but we'll just open this up. Oh, we got one in the back. All right. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Xiaodan Li. I'm from Beaufort County. I'm often asked by fellow citizens, who do you think will be the winner of the general election? That's the criteria for them to choose the primary nominee. However, my answer is it doesn't matter who's the nominee. The question should be, how do we win? Not who will win, because no matter who wins, the Democrats will cheat. So from your campaign's perspective, how do you plan to win in terms of, the 6 swing states that have different election laws? Thank you.
So this is a very real, practical, and relevant question for the next 18 months. I want you to take one thing away from tonight. This cannot be a 50.1 razor-thin margin election. For so many reasons, it can't. This cannot be an election where MSNBC and CNN are carefully trotting out the winner the following Monday after the Tuesday when we vote. This just can't be one of those elections. We are skating on thin ice as a country right now. I worry that our country cannot sustain that type of ambiguous election result. I don't think we have it in us. This has to be a landslide election. This has to be a Reagan 1980 style moral mandate that puts us in a position to actually revive our constitutional republic. This is one of those moments. And honest to God, that is why I am in this race. The difference between 50.1 and a landslide election is actually young people in this country. I've never had a political donor in my life. We have 70,000, 80,000, something like this, unique donors to the campaign already. 40% of them are first-time ever donors to the GOP. Most of them are young. We have to show up in the places. We're supposed to go to Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. I've been to Chicago twice. Once in the south side of Chicago. I went to a room full of about people this big, looked a little different by shades of melanin. Who cares? We're all Americans, actually. And I have not been in a room, probably even compared to this one, and I know where you guys are on this, so this tells you a lot, that was more strongly in favor of militarizing the southern border than that room on the south side of Chicago, who rightly asked the question. There's migrants that they're infiltrating South Shores High School, turning it into an encampment for migrants who are getting $7,000 per migrant per month. The people in that community, Democrat or Republican, I could care less, are rightly asking, what about me? And you know what? The America First agenda means putting all Americans first. I went to Kensington, in the middle of Philadelphia. And my parents came from India, right? So this is when we used to visit my grandparents in the 90s. It's a truly third world nation. We had to squat because there wasn't toilet seats. That's the level it's at. In the 90s, I have not been to a more third world location than Kensington, where I visited a month ago. 10 a.m., people shooting up with needles, heroin in the middle of the street. Police not able to do a thing about it. And so I think this is actually our moment. The first step is you got to show up. We can't recoil in our shell. We have other good candidates in this race. I respect my colleagues, but who will say, I won't talk to NBC News because they're not nice to me. I don't know if one of those guys is from NBC today or not. But it's true. They know it to be true. Because they say NBC News is not fair. NBC News is not fair. I will confirm that. But if you're not willing to sit across the table from NBC News, you're not ready to sit across the table from Xi Jinping, and you're certainly not going to be the person who delivers a landslide election in this country. So it takes fortitude. Okay? And I'll also tell you the other thing, because we got to take a bitter pill of our own medicine. Sometimes it hurts. But I speak the hard truth 360 degrees. Okay? I gave a speech at my high school. Most young people think they're progressives. They really don't know what they are, actually. We have to give them direction. See, we're the ones not doing it. But what I told them was, look, you're going to go through hardship in your life. I've been through hardship in my life. Hardship is not a choice, by the way. Hardship is sometimes something that just happens to you. But victimhood is a choice. And hardship is not the same thing as victimhood. Sometimes hardship can be what actually helps us rediscover who we really are. And I think what it means to be a conservative, my cultural definition of it is we don't choose victimhood. We choose to be victorious. That is who we are as Americans. And so I think this is our moment to take a long, hard look in the mirror as conservatives. We are not playing on an even playing field. Does the other side cheat? Yes, they do. But what are we in this for? We're in this to save a country, a nation that we still call home. And I don't think we're going to have that many more cycles left unless we use the one that's sitting in front of us right now. And so if you all put me in that position. That's your choice, not mine. It's the beauty of our system. If you all put me in that position as your nominee, you all do your part. I promise you I will do mine, because Reagan 1980 is absolutely what we need. And if Ronald Reagan were alive and well today, I promise you I would not be in this race. I'd be backing him and living a better life in some ways, right? But he's not. And I think that this is our moment to actually step up, deliver that landslide, then you fix the rails. We're riding broken rails now. Go back to single-day voting, make Election Day a holiday, paper ballots, and government-issued ID to match the voter file. But you got to win to be able to deliver that. That's where I'm at. Thank you. Take a couple more, and then we'll rock and roll. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay Byers. And I believe since 1949, the People's Republic of China has been our #1 external threat, and we're just now seeing it. I would love for you to expand on your thoughts on that, as well as the semiconductors coming out of Taiwan and how you want to address that.
Sure. Yeah, I believe in clarity here. So I'm with you, but I think actually I would say it was since the 1990s. Because still back from much of the Cold War, the USSR was still the bigger